All right, hey guys. We are moving on from baptism to communion, the Eucharist, the Lord's Supper, yes, all of the above. And I've got a few things that I'm going to need you to do. And so here's kind of how this is going to work. I am going to pose for you a series of questions in a very short video here. And then what you are going to do is take those questions and try and answer them by going into the scripture and finding some passages that might help add some clarity to what we are talking about. And then as the week progresses, then what we are going to do in these little video sessions that we have is talk through perspectives on questions you've answered. What's going on, why it matters, what's significant about it, who gets to administer these things, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So first, you need to have your notes with you so that you can jot these questions down or type them out or whatever the case may be. So the first question to answer in your notes is, what is communion? The second I need you to answer is, what is the Lord's Supper? I would prefer that you not go Google search these, right? I want you to, or use any other search for that matter. What I want you to do is answer them for yourselves based on what you think. And we're going to work from there out into something else. So what is communion? What is the Lord's Supper? The next one, what is the Eucharist? Eucharist. Okay, what is the Eucharist? And I want you to answer those. Okay, now to communion, Eucharist, Lord's Supper, yes, all of the above, so to speak. They are all, in a sense, the same thing. They are all different terms, though, and they have different meanings, and so we need to talk through that. But that's later in the week. What we're going to do right now is this. You're going to answer those three questions. What's Eucharist, communion, what's Lord's Supper? Then I want to ask you this. What are the elements of this? What are the components to it? Who can participate in communion or the Lord's Supper? And why would you consider telling somebody to not participate in it? Okay. So who can? Why would you consider telling somebody to not do so? Ooh, sorry. From the scripture, where does this the way that we practice it today, perhaps, where does that come from? Like, where do we see this practice emerge in the text of scripture? And are there some rules for it? That might also help answer some of the who gets to participate in it, right? Are there rules for this? Okay, so I'm asking you to consider three specific pieces of vocabulary: the Eucharist, communion, and the Lord's Supper. What are those three things, or why those three specific words? Maybe both is the question. I want you to understand what each of those words means, okay, without looking it up primarily. We're going to talk through that in one of the other videos, okay? What does this entail? This communion, this supper, this Eucharist, what does it entail? What are the elements to it? Who has access to it? And why might you consider telling somebody no, they don't have access to it? And where does it come from in the Bible? Like, where do we get things that look like this or that are this or whatever? Where does that come from? Go to those passages and do some digging and some reading, and what is transpiring there as we start to progress? What is there some? Is it just this as a standalone thing, or is there some backdrop that this thing is being put into place in light of that we might need to consider as a theological framework for a lot of this. So what I want you to do is to answer those questions and consider that. Gather a series of texts of Scripture and look, right? Do some processing, do some thinking, okay? And then the very last question I want to answer is, why does this thing matter? What is its significance? Why is it so important? And from there we will pick up, okay? All right, I told you it was going to be short. That's the program. That's what I want you to do today. Do that looking in Scripture, answer those questions, right? Process through that material. When we get together on Wednesday, what we are going to do is talk through the basics of those terms and some of the foundational passages in Scripture that matter for various groups of Christians who are looking at this practice in a little bit of some nuanced and different ways. Okay? All right, until next time.